Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's great to be back. I'm looking forward to reading a couple of chapters from this wonderful book, Awareness by Anthony De Mello. So please sit back and enjoy. Today's first chapter is chapter 42, entitled More Words. More words. Mark Twain put it very nicely when he said it was so cold that if the thermometer had been an inch longer, we would have froze to death. We do freeze to death on words. It's not the cold outside that matters, but the thermometer. It's not reality that matters, but what you're saying to yourself about it. I was told a lovely story about a farmer in Finland. When they were drawing up the Russian-Finnish border, the farmer had to decide whether he wanted to be in Russia or Finland. After a long time, he said he wanted to be in Finland, but he didn't want to offend the Russian officials. These came to him and wanted to know why he wanted to be in Finland. The farmer replied, "It has always been my desire to live in Mother Russia, but at my age, I wouldn't be able to survive another Russian winter." Russia and Finland are only words, concepts, but not for human beings, not for crazy human beings. We're almost never looking at reality. A guru was once attempting to explain to a crowd how human beings react to words, feed on words, live on words, rather than on reality. One of the men stood up and protested. He said, "I don't agree that words have all that much effect on us." The guru said, "Sit down, you son of a bitch." The man went livid with rage and said, "You call yourself an enlightened person? A guru, a master? But you ought to be ashamed of yourself." The guru then said, "Pardon me, sir. I was carried away. I really beg your pardon. That was a lapse. I'm sorry." The man finally calmed down. The guru said, "It took just a few words to get a whole tempest going within you, and it took just a few words to calm you down, didn't it? Words, words, words. How imprisoning they are if they are not used properly." That concludes chapter 42, entitled More Words. Chapter 43, entitled Hidden Agendas. There is a difference between knowledge and awareness, between information and awareness. I just said to you that one cannot do evil in awareness, but one can do evil in knowledge or information. When you know something is bad, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." I would translate that as they're not aware of what they are doing. Paul says he is the greatest of sinners because he persecuted the church of Christ. But he adds, "I did it unaware." Or if they had been aware that they were crucifying the Lord of glory, they would not have done so. Or, the time will come when they will persecute you and they think they are doing a service to God. They aren't aware. They're caught up in information and knowledge. Thomas Aquinas puts it nicely when he says, every time someone sins, they're sinning under the guise of good. They're blinding themselves. They're seeing something as good even though they know it is bad. They're rationalizing because they're seeking something under the pretext of good. Someone gave me two situations in which she found it difficult to be aware. She was in a service industry where many people were lined up, many phones were ringing, and she was alone. There were distractions coming from a lot of uptight, angry people. She found it extremely difficult to maintain serenity and calm. The other situation was when she was driving in traffic with horns blowing and people shouting four-letter words. She asked me whether eventually the nervousness would dissipate and she could remain at peace. Did you pick up the attachment there? Peace. Her attachment to peace and calm. She was saying, unless I'm peaceful, I won't be happy. Did it ever occur to you that you could be happy in tension? Before enlightenment, I used to be depressed. After enlightenment, I continued to be depressed. You don't make a goal out of relaxation or sensitivity. Have you ever heard of people who get tense trying to relax? If one is tense, one simply observes one's tension. You will never understand yourself if you seek to change yourself. The harder you try to change yourself, the worse it gets. You are called upon to be aware. Get the feel of that jangling telephone. Get the feel of jarred nerves. Get the sensation of the steering wheel in the car. In other words, come to reality and let tension or the calmness take care of itself. As a matter of fact, you will have to let them take care of themselves because you'll be too preoccupied with getting in touch with reality. Step by step, let whatever happens happen. Real change will come when it is brought about not by your ego, but by reality. Awareness releases reality to change you. In awareness, you change, but you've got to experience it. At this point, you're just taking my word for it. Perhaps also you have got a plan to become aware. Your ego, in its own cunning way, is trying to push you into awareness. Watch it. You meet with resistance. There will be trouble. When someone is anxious about being aware all the time, you can spot the mild anxiety. They want to be awake, to find out if they're really awake or not. That's part of the asceticism, not awareness. It sounds strange in a culture where we've been trained to achieve goals, to get somewhere, but in fact there's nowhere to go because you're already there. The Japanese have a nice way of putting it. The day you cease to travel, you will have arrived. Your attitude should be, I want to be aware, I want to be in touch with whatever it is, and let whatever happens happen. If I'm awake, fine. And if I'm asleep, fine. The moment you make a goal out of it and attempt to get it, you're seeking ego glorification, ego promotion. You want the good feeling that you've made it. When you do make it, you won't know. Your left hand won't know what your right hand is doing. Lord, when did we do this? We had no awareness. Charity is never so lovely as when one has lost consciousness that one is practicing charity. You mean I helped you? I was just enjoying myself. I was just doing my dance. It helped you, and that's wonderful. Congratulations to you. No credit to me. When you attain, when you are aware, increasingly you will not be bothered about labels like awake or asleep. One of my difficulties here is to arouse your curiosity, but not your spiritual greed. Let's come awake. It's going to be wonderful. After a while, it doesn't matter. One is aware because one lives. The unaware life is not worth living, and you will live in pain to take care of itself. And that concludes Chapter 43, entitled Hidden Agendas. Chapter 44, entitled Giving In. The harder you try to change, the worse it can get. Does this mean that a certain degree of passivity is all right? Yes. The more you resist something, the greater power you give to it. That's the meaning. I think of Jesus' words, when someone strikes you on the right cheek, offer him your left as well. You always empower the demons you fight. That's very oriental, but if you flow with the enemy, you overcome the enemy. How does one cope with evil? Not by fighting it, but by understanding it. In understanding, it disappears. How does one cope with darkness? Not with one's fist. You don't chase darkness out of the room with a broom, you turn on a light. The more you fight darkness, the more real it becomes to you, and the more you exhaust yourself. But when you turn on the light of awareness, it melts. Say this scrap of paper is $1 billion check. I must renounce it, the gospel says. I must give it up if I want eternal life. Are you going to substitute one greed, a spiritual greed, for the other greed? Before, you had a worldly ego, and now you've got a spiritual ego. But you've got an ego all the same, a refined one and one more difficult to cope with. When you renounce something, you're tied to it. But if instead of renouncing it, I look at it and say, hey, this isn't $1 billion check, this is a scrap of paper. There's nothing to fight. There's nothing to renounce. That concludes Chapter 44, entitled Giving In. I just want to thank you guys for joining me today. It's been nice to be able to share these wonderful readings with you guys, and I look forward to sharing some more. If you know anybody that'd be interested, please go ahead and share this with them. Like and subscribe to the channel. It goes a long way. I'm going to put a link in the description to Amazon for the book. If you purchased it, it helps us keep the channel running. So I appreciate you guys and hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.